Okay, now we're on to one-step metric conversion. So when we're doing a one-step metric conversion, there are two different scenarios, and I'm going to present both of them to you. We're going to be using the unit equations in unit factor form. So let me show you what I'm talking about. If we're looking at student exercise number 3, and I have 125 deciliters that I want to convert to liters, what I want you to do is, typically, you're used to writing something like this when you're doing a conversion in math, where whatever unit I start with, it comes down here, and then whatever unit I'm going to, it goes up here, and then we figure it out from there. What I do in my class is this, and pay attention because this is what I'm going to expect you to do. What we do is we draw a line across here, and then we just do this. We sort of make this little grid. Some people call them gates, but this is the proper way to set it up in my class. Okay, so the number and the unit that you're given is going to go in the upper left-hand corner. You will have nothing down here. This unit is going to get written down here because we have to cancel it. And whatever unit you're going to, it goes up on top. Okay? Now, we always put the number 1 where the prefix is. So here I have my 2-letter unit. This is where my prefix is. This is the base unit. We put the number 1 there next to the prefix, okay? Deci is 10 to the negative 1. So we put it up on top next to the base unit, okay? And deciliters is going to cancel out. And that's how we convert to liters, okay? When your power of 10 is on the top, you're multiplying. You need to remember that. You need to make a note of it somewhere because every year people forget that I ever told them this, okay? Here I am converting a prefix to a base unit, and I always multiply when I'm converting a prefix to a base unit. You need to write that down. You need to memorize it if you have a hard time setting these up. So this is really 125 times 10 to the negative 1 and divided by 1. We're not going to divide by 1 because it's going to give me the same answer, right? So in your calculator, it's going to be 125 times, and we're going to use the second E button, negative 1, enter. Make sure that you press the negative button and not the subtraction button because it will give you an error. Okay? Every year people do that, and they ask me why they got an error, and that's probably why. Now, if you're doing 125 times second, which is here, and then the E button is above the 7, okay? So there's a comma there, and it has a double E. You press that once. Only one E comes up, and then the negative button is here. Negative 1, enter. And we don't have to divide by 1. We got 12.5. So your answer here is 12.5 liters. Now keep in mind that I started with 3 significant figures, and I'm ending with 3 significant figures. The power of 10 and the number 1 are exact because this is a metric to metric conversion. And in metric to metric unit conversions, they're always exact and they have infinite sig figs and they don't affect the sig figs in my final answer. Okay? All right, now, if I asked you to give me the unit equation for this answer, the unit equation is this. This is just the fraction form of it. This is the unit factor. So I'm going to write it as unit equation form, which is 1 dl equals 10 to the negative 1 L. Okay? So this is my unit equation because you're going to be asked to write that on the homework. Okay? Okay, so let's do one more example. Let's take a look at the next page of the chapter handout, which asks you to convert 375 meters to centimeters. So we're going to write down 375 meters. I'm going to do it like this. Okay. It goes in the upper left-hand corner with the unit. And then meters comes down here. And then centimeters, which is the unit I'm going to, goes up on top. Okay. We write the number 1 where the prefix is, which is up on top this time because I'm converting to a unit with a prefix in it. Remember, when you have 2 letters in your unit, the first letter is the prefix. Centi stands for 10 to the negative 2. Okay? So we put it there. And then meters is going to cancel. And this time I'm dividing because the power of 10 is on the bottom. So you've got to make a note there that when the power of 10 is on the bottom, you are dividing, because every year students get confused and they don't understand whether we're multiplying or dividing. Okay? Now, typically what you would do is you would take 375 times 1 divided by the power of 10, but you don't have to multiply by 1 because it'll still be 375. So just divide. Okay? This is going to be 375 divided by second E negative 2, enter. Okay? We have 3 sig figs in the number that we started with. We'll have 3 sig figs in the final answer. And in your calculator, it is 375 divided by second E negative 2, enter. And we got 37,500. So we're going to write down 37,500 centimeters. Okay? Don't put a decimal on the end because that'll make the trailing zero significant. We don't want to do that. Okay? You need to make a note somewhere that this is a base to prefix conversion. And during a base to prefix conversion, you are dividing by a power of 10. There are only 2 types of one-step conversions in the metric system. Okay? The first problem that we did in student exercise number 3 was a prefix to base conversion. And that was when you were multiplying by the power of 10. This is really important stuff, okay? All of the details that I tell you are extremely important. Student exercise number 4 is converting a base to a prefix unit, and that's why we're dividing by a power of 10. Okay, now, I gave you a few more examples, but I want to do the examples that have numbers and standard scientific notation because those can be kind of confusing to set up and put in your calculator at times. So we're going to take a look at example number 7, where we're converting 2.8 times 10 to the negative 8 meters to nanometers. So we're setting it up to look like this. Okay? You were given a number in standard scientific notation, so we put it in the upper left-hand corner with the base unit. I put the number 1 on top because that's where I have a prefix, okay? Nano stands for 10 to the negative 9. So I'm going to put 10 to the negative 9 on the bottom, and then meters is going to cancel out because they're on the diagonals, okay? Okay, this probably looks really intimidating, but it's not. I need you to remember that this is just an entire number. So we're not going to need to put the multiplication symbol into the calculator. So the way that you're going to do this is 2.8 second E negative 8, and then divided by second E negative 9, enter, like this. Okay? So 2.8 second E negative 8 divided by second E negative 9 is 28. So my answer here is 28 nanometers. I started with 2 significant figures. I'm ending with 2 significant figures. You have to write a unit in your answer, otherwise it's not correct. And then in terms of the unit equation that I used here, the unit equation was this over here, right? So this is 1 nanometer equals 10 to the negative 9 meters. That was the unit equation for this problem. Okay? All right, now I'm going to do example 8, and then that's it for one-step metric conversions. So if we have 40.0 times 10 to the negative 2 microliters, and we want to convert microliters to liters, we're going to set it up so it looks like this. Remember, I told you that this right here is a number that's not going to need the multiplication symbol when we put it into our calculator, okay, because that all goes together. On the bottom, I have 2 letters in the unit, so I put the number 1 here because there's my prefix, and that's the base. Micro is 10 to the negative 6, so I'm going to put 10 to the negative 6 up on top next to the base unit. These will cancel. since this is a prefix to base conversion, we're going to be multiplying. So that's what we do when the power of 10 is up on top. So it's going to end up being 40.0 second e negative 2 times second e negative 6, enter, like this, okay? So 40.0 second e negative 2 times second e negative 6 is 4 times 10 to the negative 7th liters. But look at how many sig figs you started with at the very beginning. You started with 3. 40.0 is 3 sig figs. When there's a decimal somewhere, the zeros on the end will be significant. So that means you have to write this as 4.00 times 10 to the negative 7 liters. Otherwise, it's wrong. Because now my sig figs are corresponding to the sig figs I started with. Okay? All right, so now you're ready to go on and do the one-step metric conversion worksheet, and you have to show work exactly as how I've done it in this video here, okay? You have to have the units in the right place and the power of 10 and the 1, and then you write the unit equation out that you use to do the conversion, and then put your answer here to the proper number of sig figs with the unit, okay? Okay.